Hello friends, this is Kevin aka Kman1 coming at you with a little bit of a different video today. Yeah, this is going to be a discussion sort of video. And so I'm just going to have a little bit of gameplay, this time of the classic Tetris Attack in the background. And I'm just going to be talking about different stuff that I have on my mind. And yeah, it's going to be probably a little bit rambly and a little bit crazy. But go ahead and let me know in the comments what you guys think, any improvements I could make, whether you just hate these videos and you'll unsubscribe if I keep making them, blah blah blah, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so the topic that I'm feeling about talking about today is gamer elitism. Gamer elitism is kind of a growing thing within the gaming community. And while most people will say that it's pretty much only a problem, I'll say that it's at least symptomatic of a good thing that gamer elitism is becoming more and more prevalent. And I will get into what I mean with that in a little bit. But first things first, what is gamer elitism? Well, what I mean when I say it is it's when experienced or quote-unquote hardcore players will basically either write off or completely ignore new players just because they're not as experienced or they're just not as good or they just don't take the medium as seriously as the quote-unquote hardcores. And for those curious, as far as where I fall on like the casual hardcore spectrum, I'm making a video about gamer elitism, so if that's not enough information for you to kind of figure that out for yourself, I don't really know how to help you. Anyways, gamer elitism, it shares a lot of similarities with other types of like art snobbery. How, you know, high-level movie critics will be like, oh yeah, well, sure, the peasants, the plebs will love this stupid movie, but for a person of refined tastes such as myself, it's just not anything that's worth my time, blah blah blah. You know, we all know like the crazy art critic or movie snob or anything like that, who basically completely writes off anything that isn't an art house film or something like incredibly impressionistic or blah blah blah. And so gamer elitism is kind of the same thing, but it's especially prevalent in competitive gaming communities where newer players will basically complain that a game is too hard or that a certain character or strategy is too powerful, and experienced players will just be like, oh, just get good, just learn how to play around it, blah blah blah. So that's basically what we're dealing with. So first things first, probably the biggest question on your mind is, how do I possibly think that this can be a good thing? Well, what I kind of said before is, it's not necessarily a good thing in and of itself, but it's, if you ask me, it's symptomatic of a fact of a growing good thing in our community. Namely, there are a lot more people playing video games now. The fact that we're seeing this really big divide in the community of like the casual versus the hardcore, the competitive versus the quote play for fun, which is a topic I'll get to in a little bit. But the fact that there's such a big divide shows that there's a lot of diversity and just a lot more people playing video games. And as we've seen in the past with other art mediums, more people making art will only mean more ideas, more money in the industry, and more and better games if we're talking about video games. So, sure, there are going to be a lot more bad games as well, but the goods will only get better as more people are entering the community and learning how to develop games and contributing ideas and thoughts and dollars, or whatever currency you use in your non-American countries. And by America, I mean the US, because, you know, America. But, yeah. So, that's definitely a really positive thing that more people are in the community. And also, there's kind of like the dividing line between expertise and elitism, but the fact that there are these people who consider themselves to be experts, who feel like games can be so much more, is a good thing, because they'll be willing to have those high-level discussions, those concepts of art and sort of character development and different game theory stuff. And people having those high-level discussions about games is also going to be a greatly beneficial thing to our community. However, as we all know, the good for this definitely comes with a lot of bad. There's a logical fallacy called the no true Scotsman, and basically what it is, it's people are defining a movement solely based on their own very specific opinions, rather than thinking about the whole of the group. And so we kind of have a no true gamer mentality going on, where hardcore quote-unquote players will basically say that being a hardcore is the only way to be a gamer, and if you're playing games casually, then you're just wasting your time and you should leave, blah blah blah. And that's definitely a bad thing and a bad way to think about stuff. And then, like I was discussing before, there's a weird line between expertise and elitism, and while a lot of people definitely flirt with the line, as it were, a lot more people actually cross over the line and become elitists when they really are just trying to be experts and helpful, beneficial people in the community. And also, the more elitists or experts, quote, that we have, the more people there are going to be who agree with them and start to either shame or ignore new players just because they're new. And so, all this stuff is very interesting to talk about, but without anything to do about it, it's kind of just me wasting my breath. So, things we need to do in order to address this. Experienced players need to help new people get involved in the community. If you're not actively fostering people's love of video games, then you're honestly doing no one any services, because, like I said before, more people in the community will ultimately be a really good thing. However, if you're being a snob and an elitist and you're just telling the more casual players, oh, just get good and you wouldn't have any problems with this, then you're honestly just keeping people out of the community. And that's not something we want. Maybe it's something we want short term, but long term it'll only mean bad things, and it'll just keep that awkward stigma of, you know, like the basement dwelling, Doritos and Mountain Dew eating teenage boy with just acne and crazy stuff. We don't want to keep that stigma around. In fact, the reason this whole concept of gamer elitism exists is partly because of that stigma. So yeah, that's the burden of experienced players, is to help new people get into the community. And so the burden for new players is kind of the same thing. Their goal should be to learn from the more experienced players. Whether it's in a competitive game, they should go on the forums and be like, man, I don't know how to deal with this character or this strategy. And then just type that up and get input from more experienced players to, you know, be able to then combat that strategy or that character in the future. Because, you know, more experienced players, you know, have more experience, and they'll be able to offer insight into strategies that you don't have, or you don't have the time to gain through trial and error. And so, with their knowledge, you will then have greater success. And the other thing you need to do is, there's kind of an opposite direction elitism. And this is something I especially see in the Pokemon community, where casual players, or at least more casual players, will basically write off the competitive community as being, you know, we used to play this game for fun and we didn't try hard and plan everything from the very beginning and blah blah blah. And basically the thing is, casual players need to accept that playing a game at a high competitive level with high stakes and extreme skill from both sides of the field, it's actually a really, really fun experience for everyone involved. I mean, I'm barely breaking into the competitive community right now for a lot of different games, but when I've been to tournaments or I've just played with friends in a more try-hard competitive way, it's just been a really, really fun and engaging experience for me, and just learning how to get better at the game is just super, super exciting for a lot of people. And so more casual players kind of need to learn to respect that, and more experienced players need to learn to respect casual play as well. It's a two-way street, this. And so, all in all I'm trying to say is, gamer elitism, quote-unquote, as I've been calling it, has a lot of problems, but if we address the real divide between experienced players and newer players in a positive and constructive way, it'll only mean really good things for the community. Whew. So yeah, with all that said, I'm going to go ahead and announce that my next Let's Play is tentatively going to be starting on Friday, May the 22nd. It might be a little bit earlier depending on how much stuff I can get done in a short period of time, but it will definitely be Friday, May 22nd at the latest that the first video is going up. And so I'll probably have maybe 1 or 2 more videos like this going up in the interim, but we will just have to see. Anyways, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video.